Hi guys, and welcome back to another video.
Hello.
So in this video we're going to be looking at a channel called Lost in the Pond. It's a British guy that has moved to America, and in this particular video we're going to be looking at what are comparisons between Britain and America, who does what better, obviously from his point of view.
Yes.
And you'll obviously get our point of view whilst watching as well. But yeah.
Yes, the channel was recommended to us in the comments quite a few times, so we just thought we'll check him out and see what it's all about.
Exactly. So let's not delay and let's jump straight in.
Hello, this video is sponsored by BritBox, the premier streaming service for Britain's most beloved TV shows. I'm Lawrence Brown and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to things and stuff. Specifically, things and stuff that one country does better than the other. And as somebody who's lived extensively in both countries, I am perhaps more primed than most people to give my verdict on it. Basically, this is going to be a straightforward video for which my team has concocted a list of categories, or as they say here in the United States, categories. And controversially, my job is to tell you which country does that thing best.
I'm curious.
Knowing that my hot takes will likely lose me 1,000 subscribers. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. In the meantime, who does it better, Britain or America?
Let's see.
First category, welcoming visitors. I don't know that there's any country on earth that has absolutely perfected this, but as someone who's been a visitor to both countries, I suppose this is quite hard to decide. It's also made harder by the fact that airports are not particularly welcoming places. So I think this has to be judged once you've got in the taxi. And for the most part, Americans are very welcoming. Sometimes that is with a painted smile, whereas in Britain, those smiles tend to look less worked on. But I would say on the whole, I felt equally welcome in either country, so this one's a tie.
So it's a
Signage is probably a big part of feeling welcome or not welcome in another country, because if it's not any good, you'll feel lost, which is probably why this book that I discovered at San Francisco Airport feels very apt. But on the whole, I've had good and bad experiences in either country.
I feel like signage it's got to be pretty generic for both countries, right? They're both well developed. Surely the signage has got to be pretty straightforward, right?
I would have thought so.
I mean, obviously we know England, and I would say the signage it's decent enough, isn't it? In comparison to, like, I would say in comparison to Romania, because I've been to Romania a few times recently, I would say that English signage is better.
Oh yeah.
But that might also be because I don't understand Romanian. Maybe. It could have a small little factor, but I would say the British signage is better than at least Romania. But US, I'm not so sure. We'll see.
We'll see.
Feels very apt. But on the whole, I've had good and bad experiences in either country. In America, specifically here in Chicago, signage can be bad when you're trying to cross a street downtown, because sometimes you'll have Google Maps with you, but the roads won't be labelled on the other side of the road, so you don't know what road it is, and you have to look at the other roads to find out what road that is, and then sometimes that's not clear, and you don't know which intersection you're at. On the other hand, back in Britain, a problem that's very common that I think is a little less common in America, signage on the front of establishments often don't know where to put an apostrophe. So while I'm sure 95% of the time both countries have good signage, it's the bad signage that sticks out to me, and in equal terms. So again, without wishing to sit on the fence, I would say this one is also a tie.
So they're both very even then.
Public transport. I think anybody who's ever watched my channel before might have an inclination as to which way this is going to go. I think Britain, while not even being the best in Europe for public transport, is still pound for pound more reliable than its American equivalent. Now, don't get me wrong, when I was in San Francisco last week, I absolutely love their trams. In Chicago, I love the L train when Chainsaw Jim isn't on board. But here's what America's lacking: a more comprehensive nationwide train network, buses in some cities that show up on a regular basis, and good long distance buses, because Greyhound, whereas Britain has a more reliable and robust transport infrastructure. So I will go with Britain. Walkability, which is...
Walkability, I think I know this will go to Britain.
You're right. Why?
Because
we're smaller?
No, I think it's because the way the country and cities have developed. They started small ages and ages ago. People walked cobblestones and all of that.
So what you're saying is it was developed around the
I think so, to an extent. And then I believe with America being so vast, it as I have heard, that it's been built for driving basically, so you can't walk.
I can see that
easily.
because from when I've been and visited America, I know that like crossing like in England, you can just, you know, traffic lights are there to help you, right? But you can just cross the road freely. If there's, you know, if bit of road sense, nothing's coming that way, nothing's coming that way, right, I'm going to go straight across. Now, I know in America, that's kind of, well, at least in a lot of the bigger cities and stuff, you're not really meant to do that.
I think it's illegal, isn't it?
Well, because they have like the grid system with their roads, so they're blocks, if you like. I remember in New York City, like at the end, you just get to the end of every block and there'd be set of traffic lights, and it's like, oh my God, there's nothing coming, but I can't cross the road. And then, you know, you get to the next one, oh, stop again. Now, that might just be unique to like New York, I don't know, because I don't think it was as bad in LA when I went to LA, to be fair. But yeah, I don't think you're meant to just freely cross the road as you choose. And in Vegas, I mean, to be honest, you wouldn't want to cross that road because it was ginormous. And it's like crossing a highway or a motorway.
You don't want to cross.
It's just so busy. So yeah, I guess from that perspective, I can see how Britain would be more walkable.
Yeah, let's see if he agrees.
Let's go.
Which is quite hard to generalise, especially given the size of the United States. But despite the fact that Britain's public transport is superior, it is also more walkable, because obviously in America there's a big reliance on cars. So a lot of American cities, Chicago being a fine example, built massive suburbs that expanded way beyond the actual city. And sometimes this is so far out that walking is just not a viable option. In Britain, everything's squished together more and often within walking distance.
So it's more
it's
about
not
size
unusual
than
for somebody to
anything
walk to the
else.
post office or the chip shop or the pub. Whereas in America, walking is much further down the list when it comes to everyday mobility. So going into a 4-2 lead, Britain wins the walkability category for my money.
Beaches.
Beaches. This is going to be a hard one because I have some very fond memories of British beaches. Those in the southwest are particularly stunning during the summer months. On the other hand, the beach in Brighton is made of pebbles. I also grew up near a beach.
It's not just Brighton. Quite a few of the beaches we know.
A lot of the mainstream beaches near us are all pebbles. And I mean, yeah, it's okay. You don't have to worry about getting sand in your socks, but it's not very comfortable to lay on, is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think America's going to win this.
I think US is going to win.
There's so many more beaches and so much better. Like the quality is much better.
I think so. Yeah.
Though it was often laden with used Durex products. Whereas in America, you know what? The beaches that I've seen tend to be quite clean. And because it's got an absolutely gigantic coastline, I think there's just a greater diversity of beaches, many of which I've not visited. But I have been to a beach on the West Coast, the Great Lakes, Florida, and up in Maine. And I've always found them to be nice and well kept, and sometimes the bearer of a beautiful sunset. So on this score, I'm going to have to give the edge to America.
We kind of saw that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Who has the best countryside? This is a tough one to pick. I think America has a greater diversity of how countryside might look, depending on where you are in the country. And sometimes, like when I went out to West Virginia, the countryside is absolutely beautiful and rolling. On the other hand, while driving through the entire state of Indiana, sometimes the most interesting thing for 300 miles is a barn house. Whereas on the occasions that I visited Britain in the last few years, the countryside in its green splendour did something to me as it passed by the train, or as the train passed it. Physics was not my strong point. I think it was nostalgia, but it was also affirmation of my love of the colour green. In fact, when
his sense of humour.
I like it.
It's just very...
Would you call it a dry sense of humour? It's very witty, isn't it?
Yes. I don't know what I would call it, but I like it.
Yeah, he reminds me of the guy from, I don't remember his name, but the guy from Would I Lie to You? The kind of...
David Mitchell.
David Mitchell, yeah. It's very...
Would I Lie to You is it's a panel show.
Yeah, yes.
In the UK, it's absolutely brilliant. It's
Alice
one of my
absolutely
favourite
loves
shows.
this show, didn't you?
It's so amazing.
They're sort of given a story, aren't they? In Would I Lie to You? They're given a story, and true or false, whoever gets that particular story has to act like it's their story and almost sell it. So they have two teams, and they have to sell this story to the opposite team to sort of make them vote that as if it's true. And some of them,
so good.
Some of them are so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they're actually true, aren't they? But yeah, we're going a little bit off tangent here.
Yeah, sorry, but we love that show. And one of the captains on the panel show reminds us.
Yeah.
Lawrence
it's
reminds
very similar,
us
isn't it?
That
It's like his humour and
comedian.
just
Witty and
he's
very straight face, but like
Yes.
funny
Yeah.
in a way. Yeah.
I think it was nostalgia, but it was also affirmation of my love of the colour green. In fact, when I think of Britain, my first thought is the Grenliness of the countryside. And so I have no choice but to restore Britain's 2-point lead.
city
Now,
Now, the
life.
reverse of that, city life. Who does it better? And given the vast amounts of cities in both countries, this puts me in a difficult spot. I've never been bored in Liverpool, Manchester, or London. The same is true in Chicago, or San Francisco, or New York City. I think with this, I'm going to have to let my emotions guide me and go back to a comment that I made in a video not too long ago, in which I said, sometimes when I'm walking down a street in Chicago, I just look around myself and go, oh my gosh, I live in America. And I think that feeling is particularly strong in a city because you have so many visual markers of its Americanness. And this probably just plays into my childhood obsession with America. But sometimes with those huge skyscrapers and blinking lights, I feel like I'm in a movie, and it's not altogether a bad feeling. So controversially, I'm going to go with American cities. But there's a lot more to unpack with that, so maybe there's a future video in my brain.
Film and TV.
Film and television. I think it depends on which of those words we're talking about as to who wins. If it's film, America wins hands down. In fact, most of the films that I watched growing up in Britain were most likely American films. Wizard of Oz, Back to the Future, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and one criminally overlooked by the Academy, Herbie Rides Again. On the other hand, while there has been some absolutely excellent American television, I grew up more so on British stuff, which I kind of prefer for a number of reasons. Number one, our TV shows tend not to be as loud. And if it's BBC stuff, you don't have any ads, never mind an ad every 5 minutes. And I like the fact that on British television, a lot of the characters look like real people, as opposed to looking like they came straight from a modelling shoot. So for me, Britain gets the edge on television, meaning that film and television is a tie. And I've teamed up with...
I agree to that one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think America generally make much better movies than... Like, we don't have that many movies, really.
No, the movies that we do have, they are good.
Yeah.
But if you
In the
look at
grand
TV
scheme
shows compared to
I can
films,
see the
then-
whole sort of model thing, actually. You can kind of see that.
BritBox to make it easier for you to see your British favourites yourself. And their latest 4-part miniseries is about the English-born American film star Cary Grant.
What accent you got, kid?
English.
Archie, starring Jason Isaacs in the title role, Grant's real name was Archibald Leach, is an intriguing portrayal of the star's life that includes plenty of cameos from other stars from the golden age of
is he
cinema.
talking about
And if my world-renowned humour ever gets too much,
it's
why
called
not
BritBox.
indulge in some
The-
dramatic
BritBox.
relief
BritBox
by
was
checking out
talking
other
about, it's a
new
show on
dramas like
BritBox.
Blue Lights and Three Little Birds. You can stream your other favourite British shows
This is
via your
sponsor.
smartphone,
Yeah.
tablet, desktop, Chromecast, Apple TV or Roku device, as well as LG
It's probably
and
quite
Samsung
nice, though,
smart
if you're,
TVs. Head to
away,
BritBox.com
like, not in
/Lost in the
England,
Pond and
watching
use the
the
promo
shows.
code
It's
Lost
quite
in the Pond when signing up for a monthly subscription, and you'll get 50% off your first month. The link is also in my description below.
Oh.
Parks. How do you decide which country has the best parks? Because mostly I hate parks, whether that's municipal parks, theme parks, or national parks. It's like, ooh, I have to share this space with other humans and children, which is why I like big parks, because all of the...
That's definitely us, isn't it? We're proper introverts, aren't we?
Yeah.
Introverts? Yeah, introverts is right.
We like people in small doses. We have a
Yeah,
short social battery, I would say.
we like going out, we like socialising, but we absolutely love coming home
Yeah.
and getting
at
comfy.
the end of the day.
Yeah, it's almost like you go out and you think, oh, right.
It's gonna be okay. It's
gonna
gonna
be
fun.
okay, yeah. Are you ready to go now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're both like, yep, let's go. Excited to get home almost.
crowds are more spread out. St James's Park in London is one such place, although I do have a vague memory of being attacked there by ducks. On the other hand, America has bigger parks and
By
a smaller
ducks,
population density than the UK. So for example, when I visited the Benjamin Harrison State Park in Indiana, it almost felt like I was walking through the apocalypse, but
That
with
looks
nice
awesome.
trees. And as much as British people love the Lake District or the Peak District or the Cairngorms, they can't hold a candle to America's national parks. This is the
Sorry.
I think America's just
Sorry.
You good.
Just had a tickle.
Fair enough. Wait.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say, in terms of like parks, I think America wins hands down. Like, I think
You think about national parks though?
no, not just well. I feel like we've got a couple of, like, everything, we're small, right? So they have to have stuff better than us. You know, national parks, just obviously they have better stuff, right? It's on a much grander scale and much diverse. Much more diverse. English not good today. But also, I think, you know, like, they're bound to have better theme parks and stuff than us.
Oh, theme parks,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
So
I think absolutely.
I think it's just a given. They've got to have better stuff.
I just think about maybe, I don't know about the smaller parks, like in cities, around cities.
Central Park?
Yeah, but that's the only one. That's what I'm saying. It's amazing and it's big.
Yeah, I suppose maybe.
And I don't know of.
But then maybe that's just in New York. It's
Maybe that's
obviously
just
very
what we
concrete
know.
jungly, isn't it? But,
Yeah.
you know, if you look at London, it's kind of the same concept. You've got Hyde Park to an extent.
Well, no, you have more. But maybe that's just what we know, because obviously we know London. We know more parks in London, whereas when we think of New York, we can only think of Central Park.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, when we go, we obviously haven't been to London a huge amount. So, and when we go there, we don't think, oh, let's go to the park. So maybe that's the reason we don't really know it so well. But let's see what he says. He seems to be knowledgeable.
District or the Cairngorms, they can't hold a candle to America's national parks. This is the country that came up with the idea in the first place. And when Alaska has 2 national parks that are larger not just than Snowdonia National Park in Wales, but also Wales, you know that the number of people per square mile will be smaller. So for my money, America's parks come with slightly more perks. Architecture. Now that's right up my street, literally.
I think Britain wins this one.
Yeah, I think so, to be honest. Like, even, I think we're going to win this one.
Yeah, putting my money on this one.
Yeah, I think Britain. Let's go.
Architecture. Now that's right up my street, literally. I'm a big fan of buildings and design. And Britain has centuries worth of architecture and takes the preservation of it very seriously. America, on the other hand, doesn't so much. It is very telling that when you watch a controlled demolition video on YouTube, the location is more often than not the United States. And yet, I am a big sucker for brutalism and tall buildings. And Chicago has plenty of that. In fact, it has a plethora of architectural styles, including not just brutalism, but Art Deco and new shit. And I like it. I like what it does to me. It makes me feel like I should be a photographer who slings webs for a living. And so even though I have huge respect for stupidly old English minsters, I like the look of American city skylines and also some of the housing styles, including colonial style houses or other ones that I see around Chicago, like the Queen Anne style, or quite particular to Chicago, the Greystone. So for the first time in as many days, the United States of America has gone into the lead.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But with this category, I dare say that America's chances of victory just took a major blow to the arse, because the American healthcare system is completely and utterly a little bit silly. And I don't just mean that from the point of view of the individual cost, but also, and I don't think people talk about this enough, how convoluted it is. And I first saw signs of this when I signed up for my first health insurance, when it started saying things like, you'll need to pay a deductible for this or a copay for that. I don't know what any of those words mean. And that particular confusion was born out of the fact that in Britain, this scenario wouldn't even exist. Sure, we pay contributions to national health insurance, but after that, everything's covered by the National Health Service, which I miss. And so because of that, I make the scorecard. Britain 7, the United States 7.
Kind of sort of.
Close.
Ah yes, food, the source of our delight and many of our...
Well, if we're going by any of the videos we've seen previously, I feel like America's going to win this hands down. I mean, yeah, Brits have some nice things, but America has
in terms of
everything
like
else.
diversity,
Yeah, I just don't-
influences, and
I think, as we said before, you know, like, when they gave out all the nice dishes, England took a couple, America took the rest. And I feel that's very accurate, to be honest. So I think like food is just going to be a USA.
yeah, absolutely.
our healthcare problems. But which country generally does food better? Well, this is a bloody hard one to answer, but I'm going to go with my intuition on this. You know, people often say to me, like I can do anything about it, that, ooh, British food is bland. Firstly, you don't know about the joys of a sausage roll, or of Yorkshire puddings, or of fish and or chips. I love British food, and if the saying is true that you are what you eat, I am 67% British food myself, but only because most of my life was spent there so far. Because American food continues continues to broaden my horizons and waistline, because perhaps just as good as Old England's fish and chips is New England's clam chowder. And you've had the joy of watching me try for the first time a Philly cheesesteak.
Oh, that is really good. That is really good. No, I take it all back. Cheese Whiz is my new hero.
And what rhymes with cheesesteak? Sea snake, but also cheesecake. I do love a good American cheesecake. Why am I Welsh? And I try to...
Oh, the cheesecake
We haven't
factory.
even considered desserts yet, have we? in
No,
America? We've
we're
looked
gonna
at
have to look into
barbecues. We looked at Tex-Mex. We've had a little look at biscuits and gravy, but we've not ever considered dessert yet.
We need to look into that.
I mean,
There's
they
a
have
whole
the problem is they've got so. Sorry, I don't mean to go, but they've got so many. I don't mean to, but they've got so many mains that are amazing.
Yeah.
Like we haven't even looked at starters. We haven't looked at
No.
desserts. I mean,
There's so much still to do.
breakfast.
But they have a whole restaurant or a chain, I
A
believe.
whole restaurant.
A whole chain
Mm-hmm.
called the Cheesecake Factory,
You know what?
who does about
I'm sure I've been there. Do you know this because of Big
Big
Bang?
Bang
You know,
Theory,
yeah, you know
yes.
it because of Big Bang, right? Yeah, of course you do. I've seen a couple of them. I might have even eaten in one in Vegas.
What have you now?
I might have. I don't. It wasn't purely dessert though.
No, I know it's not, but they've got so many. It's called the Cheesecake Factory, so they have loads of cheesecake options as well as other desserts. And
Yeah, I know.
food.
I know. But I feel like chains are a bad example. So you know, your McDonald's, your Burger King, all these KFCs and stuff. Yeah, they're nice food, but I don't think they properly represent the country's food.
Yeah.
So obviously, local places are much better, right?
Yes.
Where was we?
I don't know.
I'm completely lost.
But also cheesecake. I do love a good American cheesecake. Why am I Welsh? And I try to think of it like this. I miss a lot of British foods. But one day, if I ever leave America, will I miss more American foods than I do British ones?
I think
and
so.
I think
I
due
think
to
so.
the American variety, the answer to that is yes. And so even though I didn't even remotely believe this before moving to the United States, I think it has the better food.
Chocolate.
And so we're down to the
I think
final
it's in-
category
this
with
is the
America in a 1-point lead. And my British subscribers are thinking, come on, Lawrence, American chocolate is bland. Don't you try to hoodwink us for the sake of tension and clicks. But that's not what I'm doing, because when you live in America for more than a decade, you start to see beyond the usual stereotypes. And this includes their chocolate. They find different ways to work in peanut butter, something that most Brits wouldn't even think to do. That said, I often think of the chocolate I left behind in Britain, because British chocolate, like Crunches or Twirls or the Curly Whirly, were the candy of my childhood. And when it comes to chocolate, you can't beat nostalgia. So, apologies, America. On this one, I'm going to go with Britain.
Yeah, I
British
think
chocolate might not be
better
the best in the world, but it's the best in mine.
And now it's
So it's a
what do you
draw.
know? It's a tie. And already I can hear my American subscribers going, "Oh, Lawrence, of course you would make this a tie. You're a fan of soccer in which nobody ever wins." Okay, so America prefers it when someone, i.e. America, wins. So in that spirit, let's do a tiebreaker. And that tiebreaker question, plucked from the top of my head, is this. Which of the two countries has a better Windsor Castle? Wait, no, I'm being told that's biased. So in the interest of an alternative, which country has won more World Series than any other? Right, I'm not very good at this. In that case, it's a tie. So well done to both countries for equally outdoing the other. And before I go, if you like the work I do here on Lost in the Pond and would like to give me most of your money so that I can make this channel better and live a cushy life, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. Alternatively, if you don't want to click away from this site but still want to support me in the same way, then become a member of Lost in the Pond by clicking the join button below. Until the next video, goodbye.
Oh, that was fun.
I like his sense of humour, actually,
Yeah.
to be honest. It's really cool. Very British, isn't it?
Yes.
Very British. Yeah, I find
So
it,
entertaining. Just literally, I could just hear him speak without looking at anything,
Yeah.
and he would be funny.
I think it's kind of the massive lack of emotion, if that makes
The
sense.
apparent,
It's
yeah.
very just at you, but like it's all in there, isn't it? If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It's
yeah,
in
I love
how
that.
he says things
It's
and
the
what
delivery.
he says.
It's
Yeah,
the delivery. I love that.
yeah, that was really good.
But yeah, so
So a tie.
a tie.
Interesting.
But then I can see
can
the
see
goods
some
and
of them.
bads as well. Like, you know,
Yes.
signage. Who
Well.
cares, man? There's signs, right? Food.
As long as you know where you're going.
Yeah, this is true. But
Yeah.
food. I mean, we kind of knew that was going to be American.
Yeah.
After the little insight we've had into the videos we've been looking at so far, and other Brits looking at
Yeah.
American food or eating and tasting and trying food.
Absolutely.
Like, just the sheer reaction from everyone that has tried it has been just,
I think the only one that I don't agree with, and maybe you as well, it was the architecture one. And I think that's just very subjective to him.
Yeah, it's a personal choice, isn't it? You know,
and that obviously goes for what we think.
I mean, we very much like our medieval stuff, don't we? So obviously we know that England, well, Britain in general, has castles and great architecture from that respect. I mean, the modern stuff, I can see how that would probably go in America's favour, because although we have some things...
GPT to build me a Shopify.
I didn't mean to hit the space bar. But although we have some things, I feel like America probably have a lot more. Because obviously it's huge and they've got so many more cities, they've got a lot more room to play.
Yes. And it's just preference, isn't it? I just like the old style. And looking at something and be like, oh my god, this is how this was built such and such time ago, and it's still standing and it looks amazing, and look at all the detail.
I think you can just relate to it in terms of like, wow, that was built like 300 years ago. Like,
and it's still here and
looks
standing
amazing
and
through all the weather and all that stuff. I think it's really cool.
So that was the only one I would say, probably not. But I can see probably why he chose it, because that's his thing.
Well, I think that wraps this video up.
Thank you for recommending Lost in a Pond. I guess we're going to be checking more of his videos.
Definitely,
I really enjoyed his
enjoy
video.
his humour, and I
And
think
his
that
humour,
it just sells it, doesn't it?
If he's like this in all of his videos, then I'm sold as well.
Well, until next time, guys, thanks for watching and see you next video.
Bye.
Bye.